What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be getting into my Week 14 NFL predictions. So let's get into this here. Starting out with Week 13, what I got right and what I got wrong. Starting out with the Thursday Night Football matchup, I did get the Dallas Cowboys game right over the Seahawks. Wish I didn't, though, as a Seahawks fan, but the Cowboys did pull that one off. Did get the Chargers game right over New England in an ugly matchup there. Did get Miami right over Washington. Did get this game wrong. I picked the upset for the Broncos against the Texans. Broncos almost did it, but just unfortunately got that one wrong. Did get Indianapolis Colts right over the Tennessee Titans. Barn burner there. Detroit did beat New Orleans, but again, a close game. Shouldn't have been that close the way that game started. But Detroit did get the win. Did get Atlanta right over New York. Did get Tampa Bay right over Carolina, a closer game than a lot of people anticipated there. Did get this one wrong. The Rams come out. It was a closer game than what this score shows, but the Rams do win that one. Cleveland loses again. Did get the Niners game right, though, over Philadelphia. Predicted the San Francisco 49ers upset on the road, and they got the job done. So good win there, dominant win. Did get the Steelers game wrong over Arizona. That was not anticipated there, but the Cardinals come out, pull off a big upset. Did get the Kansas City Chiefs game also wrong over Green Bay. Green Bay pulls off a big upset. Not many people were anticipating that one. The Packers got it done. And then finishing it off, did get the Jaguars game wrong over the Bengals. Lawrence gets injured. That was a big reason in that one. And the Jacksonville Jaguars do lose that one. All right. So if we look at that week, I went 8-5. That brings my record to 121-72, which is still pretty solid. So let's get into this Week 14 picks now. Only 2 teams on bye week this week. I believe this is the last week. So let's start out here last week with teams on byes. All right, let's start out with the game on Thursday Night Football. We do have the Patriots taking on the Steelers. Weird game. Mitch Trubisky is injured. Kenny Pickett is injured, so Mitch Trubisky is starting for Pittsburgh, which is interesting. Bailey Zappi going to be probably starting for New England here. I am going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even with Mitch Trubisky, I do trust that offense more than I do the Patriots, who got shut out by a bad Chargers defense. The defense for the Steelers will shut them down. The Patriots defense has been really freaking good this season. Also, though, been, kind of gone unnoticed with the horrible offense. But I am going to go with the Steelers in this one. I just trust that Steelers offense more than I do that Patriots offense by a long shot. And it's being played in Pittsburgh, which helps. All right, moving on. We do have Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. Big NFC South match. If Tampa Bay wins this one, they do become number 1. Being played in Atlanta, I am going to go with the Falcons. They've been a good team at home, it seems, this season. Desmond Ridder will do enough in this one. I do trust that Falcons offensive talent, that they will be able to move the football somewhat effectively against this Buccaneers defense. Buccaneers are a consistently decent team, but I think they're going to come up short in this one. So give me Atlanta to win it. Moving on, we do have the Lions taking on the Bears. 9-3 versus 4-8 here. Bears are coming off a bye week here. Detroit coming off a win. I am going to go with the Lions in this one. No surprise. I just do think they're talent-wise better. I could honestly see Chicago coming out and pulling off the upset. They do have some nice pieces on that team. The Bears have been the Lions have been a team to just kind of beat up some of these bad teams this year. They haven't really had a win against a good team. I know they beat the Packers and the Chiefs, but the Chiefs game was a weird one, and then the Packers game was The Packers were struggling at that time. So, I do think the Lions are going to play well enough to beat the Bears. I could see the upset division rivalry game. You never know what can happen, but I am going to go with Detroit. Okay, down here we do have the Bengals taking on the Colts. Interesting matchup. This one's going to be fun, I think. The Colts are on a 4-game winning streak. Bengals, Browning just played really good football last week against a good Jaguars defense. So this game is an interesting one. This is big playoff implications. If you asked me a few weeks ago when these teams were at their low points, I would say these teams probably aren't going to be in the mix to make the playoffs, but here we are. So a big game being played in Cincinnati here. As much as I like Gardner Minshew and the Colts, I do think this team is due for a loss. They got a decent defense, but I do think the talent gap, for this team is there. The Bengals have a lot of good pieces. I think they'll be able to move the ball effectively. It is being played in Cincinnati as well. As good of coach as the Colts have been this year, I do think they're going to come up a little bit short in this one. So give me the Bengals to pull off the win. Okay, down here we do have the Jaguars taking on the Browns, 8-4 versus 7-5. Interesting matchup. I'm just gonna bet that Trevor Lawrence isn't playing in this one. I'm just gonna say it right now. If he is, I would pick the Jaguars in this one, but I don't think he's gonna play in this one. I think they're gonna play it a little bit conservative with his injury. You don't wanna jeopardize your quarterback. So, but still, either way, it's going to be an interesting matchup. You look at the Browns, I've been saying it. This defense has been, they've been a good defense on the road, but when they're at home, this defense has been that dominant defense that they've been advertised to be. And that's what the Browns are at home. It's going to be tough, I think, for the Jacksonville Jaguars to move the football with that dog pound there. I do think I'm going to pull. This is going to be an upset here. I'm going to pick the Browns in this one. Desperate game. They need it. I think they can get this win. That defense is going to be really good in this game. And the Jaguars, I think, offensively are going to struggle. I think this one will probably be a low-scoring game, but give me the Browns to pull off the win. All right, down here we do have the Saints taking on the Panthers, 5-7 versus 1-11. Saints have been struggling. Their deficiencies on offense are shown the past few weeks. Jameis Winston probably going to be playing this week. You look at the Panthers, kind of competed last week. I do think this game could be close, but I am going to give it to the Saints. They need this win. The Panthers, I'm just not going to bet on them to win any game at this point. Give me the Saints to win it. They got some pieces on the defense and on a few pieces on the offense with Kamara and Chris Olave. So give me the Saints to pull off the win. And then down here, we do have Houston taking on New York. The Jets coming into this one, it looks like Zach Wilson's going to be the starter again, which, is the better choice of the few that they have there. He is the player that led them to a few wins. But, I don't really know what to expect from this game. You look at Houston, they're a really decent team here. CJ Stroud has been playing really good football. That offense, they did lose Tank Dell last week, which is unfortunate for that offense. But CJ Stroud seems to be working with whatever he's gotten there. Then you look at the Texans defense. Last week playing really effectively against the Broncos. Will Anderson had a good game. Derek Stingley Jr., their cornerback they drafted a couple years ago, had a really good game. DeMeco Ryans is coaching up that unit really nicely. I think it's going to be tough for the Jets here with that offense just being atrocious. Give me the Texans. Down here, we do have the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Rams are on a little bit of a hot streak right now at 6-6, trying to sneak into this playoff picture. And then you look at the Ravens coming off a bye week here. The Rams are a good team. They have Puka Nacua, who's been playing great. Cooper Kupp. Stafford's been a really good quarterback this season for them. And then the defense has been playing pretty decent. But I don't think it's going to be enough. This Ravens team, I think, is a top team in the league. They have been shown that they can get upset week to week, but I don't think this time coming off the bye, a Jim Harbaugh-led team's going to get this win, I think, and the Ravens will move on to 10-3. Okay, down here we do have the Vikings taking on the Raiders. Another interesting game here. I don't know what to expect from Minnesota in this one, the way they looked on Monday Night Football. They get that bye week to rest up. Justin Jefferson finally, I think, should be playing this week. Finally, for one of my fantasy leagues, he is back. So that is good for sure. You look at the Raiders here. This is a team that also was on a bye week. They've been playing scrappy all year, or at least ever since Josh McDaniels got fired. They have a few pieces on the offense with Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. You look at that defense. Max Crosby's playing really well. They have some young pieces that are developing in the secondary. So it's not a bad Raiders team. I'm not going to bet on them to beat the Vikings here, though. But if we see the offense that we saw on Monday Night Football, this could be an L. But I am going to bet that the Vikings are going to get things figured out, especially with Justin Jefferson coming back. And that Vikings defense is playing really good, solid this season under Brian Flores. So give me the Vikings to pull off the win over the Raiders. Okay, moving on. We have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seahawks. My, oh my, this is going to be a must-win game for us, the Seahawks against San Francisco. I am interested. I mean, I guess it's not a must-win game, but it's a big game. On the road, tough atmosphere there in San Francisco. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen in this game. You look at the Niners. They are a really freaking good team. They have been the best team at this point. They're playing at the best level, beating the Eagles last week. Christian McCaffrey's playing dominant. This Niners offense, it's really hard to stop. And then they got a really freaking good defense down there in San Francisco. So I really want to go with my Seahawks. I'm going to be rooting for it. I'm going to have to pick the Niners, though. For this video's sake, I just can't bet against San Francisco right here. But don't be surprised, these teams just played on Thanksgiving. Don't be surprised if Seattle's made some adjustments. I do think this game will be closer than people anticipate. Geno Smith will ball out, but that Seahawks defense has been reeling as of late. So give me the Niners to pull off this win. Down here, we do have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Big game between these two. You look at the Bills here coming off the bye week. They need the win. Kansas City's playing on a tough loss to Green Bay. Need to bounce back this week if you're the Chiefs. It's being played in Kansas City, so that's interesting. You look at Josh Allen and the Bills, man. This team just really wants to pull off a win. They really want to pull off the win, the upsets, but they just haven't been able to finish things off. You look at the Chiefs, they've been just not the dominant Chiefs. Their defense has been much better this season, but on offense, just not been that dominant Chiefs that we're accustomed to seeing down there in Kansas City. So I'm interested to see what happens between these two. I am going to go with why not? Let's pull off an upset. I'm going to bet on Josh Allen and the Bills. They've been so close in these past few games. I do think they have the talent to win against the Chiefs. They are due for a win. They're desperate. I think they can get it done. So let's go with the Bills. Why not? Let's go with an upset. Give me Buffalo to pull off the win. All right, down here we have the Chargers versus the Broncos. 6-6, 5-7. Interesting game. Chargers team that has been struggling lately, especially with their receivers. The defense has gotten better a bit, but not by much under Brandon Staley. Russell Wilson and the Broncos came up with a heartbreaker last week. Unfortunately, weren't able to finish it off. I do think this Broncos offense is going to get right this game going to play a good game, because if you watch that game, this Broncos team, they were getting a lot of good shot plays against the Texans defense, just for a few of them. Wilson kind of missed. I think he can get that right this game. Just some basic things to figure out. And against the Chargers, I do think this team probably is not going to come out with a good game plan. So let's go with the Broncos to pull off the win and get their 7th win of the year. All right, Sunday Night Football. We do have the Eagles taking on the Cowboys here. Huge game between these two. I'm not entirely sure who would win this one, if the Cowboys would be in the lead for the division. Not entirely sure how that would work. But either way, it is a massive game. You look at the Eagles, they've been a really freaking good team this year, aside from their 2 losses against the Jets, where their offense really struggled, and then last week against the Niners, where their defense struggled a lot to contain them. You look at the Cowboys, they just pulled off a win last week against Geno Smith, and the Seahawks just barely battling back in that one. That may have been a trap game for them. They are coming off a long week, so that will help the Cowboys. I am going to go with Dallas here at home, Sunday Night Football, just coming off just barely win on a long week. The Eagles just coming off a tough loss. They're a little bit on the downward trajectory. I am going to go with Dallas to even out those season series. This game was neck and neck in Philadelphia. I do think the Cowboys pull off this win. And then we have 2 Monday Night Football games here. We have the Miami Dolphins taking on the Tennessee Titans here. This one seems to be literally no one picking Tennessee. Tennessee, they played well last week. They competed against the Colts, but now they have to go up against the juggernaut that is the Dolphins, at least the juggernaut, the Dolphins, against bad teams. This team just dominates teams with losing records, and I don't think it's going to be any different with it being played in Miami. Tyreek Hill's going to have a big game. Tua's going to have a big game. Jalen Waddle's going to have a big game. Raheem Mostert's going to have a big game. Devon A-Chain's probably going to have a big game. The Titans defense is well coached, but it's not the best unit. Will Levis will try and do some stuff, but give me Miami in this one. And then finishing it off, we do have the Green Bay Packers taking on the New York Giants. Danny DeVito trying to pull off an upset here. I believe this team is coming off a bye. Yeah, I think so. Yep. I think this game could be closer than a lot of people anticipate. You look at New York, they have been a much better coached team as of late. They've been a decent team. I'm not going to bet on that, though. Green Bay's been really playing well as of late. Jordan Love's been playing like a really good quarterback. They have more talent on that defensive side of the ball. So I am going to go with the Packers. It is being played in New York, so don't be surprised if somehow the Giants pull off an upset, but give me Green Bay. All right, thank you guys for watching this video today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your predictions. Anyway, guys, peace out.